candle wax dripped onto the worn wooden table, each drop measuring the passing minutes while merging together to form a miniature stalagmite. The young woman spared a moment to glare at the white glob of wax plopping onto her work surface, as if she needed another reminder that time was running out. She wanted to light another candle but couldn't afford the minutes it would take to dig one up from her storage trunk. She considered casting a spell to illuminate the murky cave she used as her temporary study and living quarters. However, if time was precious, her magic was even more so. Dust spiraled through the dim candlelight as she carefully flipped another page in the ancient tome before her. The combination of dust from her books and humidity from the cave made her mouth sticky, as if she had swallowed a thick mineral paste. She missed her real bedroom with its lead-laced windows overlooking the cobbled courtyard, a fireplace to stave off even the worst of winter chills, and a bed utterly devoid of rocks of any size. At the woman's feet, a minuscule dragon sneezed and rolled over in his sleep, his black tail curling loosely around her ankles. She allowed herself a smile and silently reminded herself to taunt the stuffy dragon later. That's if the pair survived long enough to reach later. He would hate knowing his sneezes were about the cutest thing on the planet. No, tried that already. She pored over the pages in growing distress. If she didn't find any helpful spells soon, she could lose the only advantage she had to push back the encroaching darkness. The mirror was her greatest tool, but if it were to fall into enemy hands, she doubted anyone alive could stop the destruction that would inevitably follow. Behind her, the rectangular mirror glinted in the sparse light, taller and wider than an average human. The silver looking-glass that hung slightly askew on the cave wall was one of her greatest accomplishments, or, at least, a shared greatest accomplishment. But the mirror couldn't help her now. The emerald green gem fixed at its base lacked its usual luster. The gem served as a power source for the mirror and would need to be replenished, as its last traveler had used up most of its remaining magic. Without warning, the dragon sprang to attention, hopping to the woman's lap and then to the table. His nose pointed in the air as he sniffed an invisible threat. "Time's up. She found us." Cursing in one of the many languages she knew, the mage closed her book and took up her staff. The knobbly stick wasn't all that impressive at first glance, but once clasped in its owner's grip, it transformed into a pillar of light. Tiny runes scrawled across the surface, painstakingly carved in patterns meant to enhance her magic. The cavern shook, breaking several rocks free from the ceiling and walls, which fell to the floor in dangerous chunks. With a quick word from the woman, a shimmering bubble grew from the tips of her fingers and widened until it completely encompassed her, the dragon, and the mirror. Any rocks that fell near the bubble bounced harmlessly off her magical shield. "She's breached the main entrance." The dragon sounded bored. "Yes, thank you for that observation." The woman itched to run out and meet their attacker head-on, to defend her compatriots and her home, however dingy it appeared. But her duty was here. She had to protect the mirror. The rumbling intensified as the minutes passed. The candle on the table tipped over and snuffed out, leaving the staff as the only light source. She always did like to make an entrance. Ignoring the dragon, the mage fixed her stance and poured all her energy into creating a nearly indestructible bubble. As long as her strength held, no attack could get through. "Come on already." The little dragon glided from the table to land at the woman's feet. Opposite them, the hefty chamber door creaked as something strained against its many locks. Before the mage could think to fortify it with another spell, it was pulled outward, ripped from its hinges. It disappeared down the hall and a plume of dark smoke flooded the small room. Whatever comprised the black fumes fizzled and hissed against the magical barrier. "It will take more than that to defeat me, Morgana," the mage said to the empty entryway. A laugh cackled all around her. She had witnessed Morgana's theatrics before, though, so she didn't react. All at once, a fiercely beautiful woman materialized by the table. The dark smoke coalesced into her wavy onyx hair, which continued to writhe and swirl as if it couldn't decide which it would rather be. A matching black cloak enclosed her person, so she resembled a floating spectre. Eyes of the deepest violet danced around the room, a small smile pulling at her crimson-stained lips. It had been so long since she had seen Morgana in human form. She should have expected that given a full-sized dragon couldn't fit in these caves. Morgana ran a finger along the spine of the book, still resting on the table. "I'm not here to defeat you, Merlyn. I may be more powerful than you, but we both know you would win in an endurance race." She lazily examined her violaceous nails after brushing the dust from her fingers. "You know why I'm here." The tiny dragon launched from behind Merlyn, wings flapping wildly as he flew beyond the shield, angling his claws toward Morgana's face. Morgana smiled and the dragon froze mid-flight. Merlyn gaped at her tiny companion suspended in the air. "How did you—" But then her body froze as well. "I've found a chink in your armor." Morgana raised a hand and pushed her power forward. The pulse shattered several clay containers lining the room and shredded books along the bookshelf. Outside Merlyn's protective shield, the dragon was hit with the full force of the attack. He flew into the wall and crumpled to the floor. Merlyn, still blocking the mirror, was unharmed. Morgana's boots slowly clicked across the stone floor. Various forms of debris rolled away, seemingly of their own accord, creating a path to Merlyn. She stopped just outside the bubble. "You were always so good at protecting what's important to you. It's a shame you neglected to extend that same protection towards me." Still frozen, Merlyn couldn't respond, but even if she could, she wouldn't know what to say. There was no use rehashing the past when they both knew they would make the same choices again and again if given the chance. Merlyn's eyes burned from lack of blinking. And although she knew her internal organs were still functioning, her lungs felt trapped inside a box, unable to expand to their proper size and take in a full breath. She pushed the discomfort to the back of her mind. She couldn't move her body, but she still had control of her magic. She trusted her barrier, but hoped help would arrive before her energy ran out. Morgana reached in her cloak and pulled out an amulet inlaid with an orange glowing jewel. "This cost me a small fortune, but it was worth every bit to see you incapacitated. And since this beauty isn't harming you," Morgana paused to insert a small chuckle, "physically anyway, it can pass through your defenses. Just like I can." She stretched out a hand, fingers testing the air as they neared the barrier. Merlyn panicked. Morgana couldn't reach her, could she? Too late, Merlyn realized she had never tested her barrier on harmless intrusions. She could keep out anything that would harm her. Even mosquitoes couldn't reach her while the shield was in place. But if someone didn't plan on hurting her, Merlyn felt the blood drain from her face. She should have realized her mistake from the ease with which her dragon friend came and went from her shield. Merlyn's spell wasn't built to keep specific threats out or to only allow certain allies in. It was formed to keep out anyone who wished her physical harm. She had never anticipated a reason to be more specific in its intention. A wicked grin spread across Morgana's face as her hand passed successfully through the bright barricade. She didn't hesitate to bring the rest of her body through. Morgana stepped in front of Merlyn, ducking a bit so their faces were even. "It's a shame this charm won't outlast your endurance. Otherwise, I could test my new theory on you." She trailed a fingernail down Merlyn's cheek, careful to be as gentle as possible so as not to accidentally set off the bubble's defenses. "Oh well, if I can't harm you, I'll have to pay a visit to a friend of ours instead." Merlyn's cheek stung where Morgana had touched her, but she knew it was her own body reacting in disgust and not any pain inflicted by Morgana. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she willed them not to fall. She wouldn't give Morgana the satisfaction. Every muscle ached to shift, to attack, to do something. But Morgana was moving too quickly now. Merlyn knew she couldn't react in time. Morgana eyed the mirror, her purple irises glinting hungrily. "What?" a small voice came from among the rubble. "What are you going to do? Carry it out of here?" The little dragon coughed as he stood on shaky legs. "Even you aren't that good. Someone will stop you. Your fancy freeze spell is already weakening." The evil mage didn't spare the dragon a glance. "I don't need to carry it." She pulled out her own staff, seemingly from thin air. "At least, not all of it." "No!" Merlyn screamed inwardly, and one of her fingers twitched. With one swift move, Morgana brought the butt of her staff down on the glassy surface. A crack shot through the mirror, and a piece about the size of her face broke off. She swept it up and tucked it away into the folds of her cloak. "Don't worry, Merlyn. I'll be sure to give our friend your love before I destroy him." She blew Merlyn a kiss, shot another pulse of power at the dragon, and strolled from the room without looking back. Merlyn blinked, and the tears flowed freely.